So my name is Jocelyn Gagnon. Welcome, everyone. I'm with my colleague Ariella Orbach. Ariella will do the most of the animation tonight, and I will help Ariella with all the technical things. We didn't start very well, but I'm sure that it will go on, and it will be nice tonight. So, Mrs. Egvec, if you want to say a few words to welcome people.
Parfait. Merci, Jocelyn. Je vais essayer de juste faire brefement et je vais changer en anglais et français juste pour que je me répète pas deux fois. Mais if I understand correctly, we have some competition tonight with the Canadian Leafs game. So I'm happy that this is actually being done virtually. So you can have a separate screen going on somewhere else and we won't even know about it. J'aimerais commencer par dire merci de prendre le temps de vous joindre à cette conversation virtuellement alors que nous développons ensemble notre vision stratégique. Towns must put people at the center of their vision, and tonight is your night. As mayor of Baie-D'Urfé, my role is to engage you to participate in life in your town. Cet exercice est construit en collaboration avec nos citoyens, nos associations et clubs, nos jeunes, notre parc industriel, nos employés et notre conseil municipal. Jusqu'à présent, chacun d'entre eux a été très utile et positif. Sorry, I'm flipping between my English and French notes here. So we realize that you may not have all the knowledge, but please rest assured, this is a collective process. And if they are not reflected this evening, that does not mean that they won't become a priority. So just bring whatever you have to the table, and that's what's appreciated. Cette vue d'ensemble permettra d'approfondir la réflexion sur les domaines spécifiques et de s'assurer que nous concentrons nos priorités en conséquence, avec une direction claire pour votre ville au cours des prochaines 5 années. But we are looking for your collective input as you imagine what Baie-D'Urfé should look like in the next 20 years. Ceci est le début et non la fin d'un dialogue continu avec nos citoyens, citoyennes. Une vision doit être complète, mais plus de travail se poursuit lorsqu'elle se traduit par des actions réalisables à suivre. Online surveys are available on our website, as well as paper copies at Town Hall. I know many have participated. And we also look forward to a special event this Saturday with our youngest citizens on a special Zoom platform. Dans le public ce soir, nous avons tous les membres de conseil qui sont à l'écoute. Et j'aimerais aussi dire merci à M. Nicolas Bouchard qui est avec nous ce soir et avec son équipe Daphne Arias-Guimet qui a travaillé fortement sur les communications pour cette soirée. Je souhaite également le bienvenue à Ariella Orbach en tant d'animatrice ainsi qu'au président Jocelyn Gagnon d'Espace Stratégique et son équipe qui ne sont pas tous ici ce soir, mais qui travaillent et assistent nous dans le processus. À ma grande surprise, j'ai eu le plaisir d'écouter Jocelyn plus tôt ce mois-ci comme panéliste dans le cadre de la conférence de l'UMQ. Espace Strategy is widely known through the Quebec industry and has provided services in economic development, public organizations, a long list of municipal towns, and as well as private sector, OBNL, foundations, and commercial associations. The repertoire in municipal world alone is quite extensive, so I invite you to look at their website, and it has ranged from tiny towns like North Hatley of just over 600 residents, all the way up to Terrebonne with over 100,000. So I'll stop here. J'ai hâte de m'asseoir. Je vais fermer mon écran maintenant, mais cette soirée-là, c'est à vous et de rendre la soirée. So I'm going to sit back, turn off my screen, and it gives me great pleasure to stop talking and turn the night over to you. Thank you very much. Merci.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. So Ariella, it's your turn.
Yes, well, welcome everyone. I think we will be sharing the screen. There we go. just getting that started. So good evening, everyone. While Jocelyn projects our screen, I just did want to mention, you probably have seen that we are recording the session. You were asked to consent to that. And the reason we're doing that is just to make sure that if there is anyone who was not unable to attend tonight, perhaps because they're watching a hockey game, they will be able to watch at a later time. So that's the reason we're recording. I would also mention, just so that everyone out there knows, we currently have 54 attendees tonight with us. So it's quite a nice number. So really briefly, I'm just going to run you through the agenda for tonight, as well as some introductory information. So if we can move to the next slide. There we go. So we're going to be running through after a really brief contextual introduction that won't take very long, we're going to run through your vision for the future of Baie-D'Urfé, as well as the challenges that the town faces, in your opinion. And then we're going to have a chance to dive a little deeper into 4 topics of interest, which are quality of life, sustainable development, infrastructure and commercial activities, and the town associations and services. And then we'll finish with a quick checkout and the next steps. I do want to mention that because we do have quite a nice attendance and only an hour and a half with you, and we want to respect the time engagement that we asked of you, we will be running through the various stages of this evening fairly quickly. So we're going to be giving 10 minutes to each segment. So we're going to sort of have a very timed process where we're going to invite you to share your opinions in various ways through Zoom. So I'm going to show you what those will be very shortly. And we will try to finish at 8:30 so that we respect the rest of your activities for this evening. However, if you feel like you haven't had a chance to say everything that you wish to say, by 8:30, after the official end of the webinar, we will stay for an extra 15 minutes. So for anyone who feels like they want to continue sharing something that they haven't had a chance to share, we will still be there to take your opinions. Very briefly, in terms of context, so we are, of course, in the process of accompanying the town of Baie-D'Urfé to develop a strategic vision for the coming 5 years, with the goal of adopting it by the end of the year. And a strategic vision is really a tool that will help the town plan for the future by drawing on the full potential of its community. And that's very important because for us, the mobilization of the different segments or sectors of the community actors, yourselves, is extremely important to really understand Baie-D'Urfé as an ecosystem made up of all these different sectors of the community. And this is a really big emphasis of this process that we're accompanying Baie-D'Urfé in. So on the following slide, if I show you the schedule that we've been following, our timeline, you'll see that the bulk of this process is really consultations with these different sectors of the community. So we started in late April with workshops with town employees. We followed that with a workshop with elected officials. And most recently, we had a participatory workshop with the representatives of the various associations and clubs of Baie-D'Urfé. Tonight, we're here with you, the citizens. And as Mayor Ekvet mentioned, on Saturday morning, we have a special activity for youth. So that's really what we're trying to do, is build the strategic vision of Baie-D'Urfé based on the input that we're getting from the citizens. So just really quickly, I wanted to run through a few rules of participation, very basic, just to make sure that our experience is pleasant tonight. The first one is very simply that we're looking for the best ideas for the town. So we're not looking for our individual interests, but rather the collective interest of the town, so that we can build a vision for its future together. We also invite you to express in the language of your choice. So although the content of this presentation will be in English, si vous voudriez vous exprimer en français, vous êtes bien sûr le bienvenu. En fait, c'est la langue de votre choix, autant quand vous prenez le micro que quand vous écrivez dans le chat. Ça peut être en français, ça peut être en anglais. Finally, and very importantly, we also invite you to share your opinions. We welcome divergent opinions, but we do ask that you be respectful of others and that you express your opinions respectfully. We do reserve the right to cut one's microphone if someone doesn't follow that rule, but this has never happened before. But we prefer to, mention it at the beginning and just set the ground rules. So please express your opinions respectfully. In order to participate, we propose 3 main ways to participate tonight. So at the bottom of your screen, you will see the 3 icons of chat, raise hand, and Q&A. Depending on the device you're on, you might need to hover your mouse or touch the bottom of your screen to see them. We'll primarily be using the chat tonight to make sure that everyone gets a chance to have their opinion be heard. We are now up to 60 attendees. Of course, we won't be able to open the microphone for everyone and keep within our time limit. So our primary means of communication is the chat, and we're really going to be able to use that to have a conversation throughout the entire evening. So we invite you to use the chat both when we're exploring a specific topic and whenever you would like, for whatever reason, to share something maybe that we had touched on earlier and you have a new idea, you're welcome to use it. I would point out, however, that when you send a chat out, it's important that you select the option of sending it to all panelists and attendees. And that makes sure that everyone sees it and not just us, the panelists. And that way you can have a conversation running between participants of or attendees of this webinar. We will also have certain moments where we'll allow you to raise your hand if you'd like to take the microphone and express an opinion that you prefer to speak. And finally, there's a Q&A button in case you have any particular questions for the panelists that'll be sent directly to us. We're going to start with a quick little exercise, and it's also going to be your chance to test out the chat function. So I'd like to ask you, if you had to choose one word or one phrase to best describe the town of Baie-D'Urfé, what would that be? So I invite you to use the chat to share your word or phrase that for you best describe the town of Baie-D'Urfé. I see the word quaint already popped up, natural, community, beautiful, welcoming, green, beauté et bénévolat, small town or a big city, and rural. I see green popping up a couple times more, peaceful again. Baie-D'Urfé is a gem. Community spirit and community oriented and friendly. Volunteers came up again. That's a theme that we've seen throughout these consultations, the importance of volunteerism. Country in the city. Green, natural. So again, some themes that keep coming up. And I think that will come up as well in some of the conversations that we'll be having. More agreement on country in the city. That's really interesting as a great balance, in fact, between being on the island of Montreal, but also having that charm and that peacefulness, the nature, the green. But someone mentioned here that there is the threat of destruction. So there's an interesting thing to watch out for. Wonderful. Small and intimate in a big city. Crumbling. So there's the question about perhaps infrastructure there that we will be touching on later. There's also the sense of community when it comes to the counselors. So we have Lois, who just mentioned that we know our counselors. An agreement that maybe there needs to be some work on infrastructure. Great. So why don't we go right into some of these issues? So first, we're going to start with your vision, and then we're going to work towards the challenges. I would like to invite, so one of the other ways that we're going to be able to express ourselves is through polling. So we're going to be launching a poll through Zoom. And here we're going to be asking you, we're going to give you a list of elements, and we're going to ask you, so the poll just popped up, of all these elements, which ones should absolutely be included in a vision for Baie-D'Urfé's development? So each of these statements would complete the sentence, in 2031, Baie-D'Urfé has successfully, and I can read them out. You will have to scroll down to see the whole list and select your 4. We have, in 2031, Baie-D'Urfé has successfully preserved the town's charm, peacefulness, and community spirit, preserved its built environment and integrated new residential construction, updated the town's infrastructure and technological equipment, been recognized for its sustainable development principles and green policies, attracted young families by promoting better access to property ownership, increased the notoriety of the industrial park and attracted businesses that are aligned with the town's values, valued its green spaces and its natural assets, ensured the development of services and facilities catering to different segments of our population, and sustained its thriving culture of citizen engagement and volunteerism, and ensured that new residents feel part of it. So those are the series of choices. Don't forget to scroll down to see all of them. And we ask you to choose 4 priority ones and click on submit when you've made your choices. And I think it's Jocelyn who's going to be able to see how many people have submitted the poll.
I can see that we have 1/3 of people that already voted. Don't forget to scroll with your mouse to make sure that you see all of the possible answers. So to scroll down and to see all of the choices you do have. So we are the half of it. So Ariella is increasing very quickly.
Okay.
So
I also see.
Yeah.
We have some questions of folks who accidentally just prioritized one and then submitted it. Is there a way for people to submit the poll a second time?
No, I don't think so. It's because I can restart it for everyone or not for one person. So sorry.
So for those people, when we're going to have a chance to make comments on our choices in a moment. So I would suggest that you use the chat, or perhaps if you'd like to speak, we might pass you the mic and mention what your other choices are.
That's a very good idea.
I'll also mention, while the rest of the people are voting, that the chat, we are going to be recording the chat. So we're going to be saving the chat at the end of the session. And that's for our internal use. So it's really just to make sure that we are able to analyze and really read through every single thing you've submitted to us, all of your input. So everything you write in the chat will be carefully examined and taken into account.
Still missing 10 people. So can give a few moments more. There's still a few more. Okay, we can end it up and we can share the results.
Okay, so we see that preserving the town's charm, peacefulness, and community spirit is definitely the leader by a lot, by 72%. Following that, other priorities for the vision, 68% valued its green spaces and its natural assets. So 68% of folks would like to see that as Baie-D'Urfé's future in 10 years. And then we have several, for example, at 42%, we have ensured the development of services and facilities catering to different segments of our population, sustained its thriving culture of citizen engagement and volunteerism, ensuring new residents feel part of it. I also see recognized for sustainable development principles and green policies. So definitely attracting young families as well is up there with 30% by promoting better access to property ownership. Definitely preserving the town's charm, peacefulness, and community spirit are quite significant. I also see in the chat, there are a couple of other priorities that were added, such as infrastructure, green policies, and sustainable development. One person who's unsure that any of these are true, so maybe there's something else that this individual would like to see in the vision. So what we can do is open up the discussion around what stands out most for you. We can go to the next slide. Actually, I believe we have a couple of questions to launch that. So are there any elements missing? Well, we already have infrastructure and green policy, sustainable development those were the ones that someone was unable to add in time, excuse me, they were part of that. Are there any other elements missing that you didn't see in the poll that you think should be in there, or anything that stood out to you that you find interesting? We invite you to use the chat if you'd like to make some comments around this, or if you'd like to raise your hand. I see we have one hand, Alain Brunet. Jocelyn, I think, is it you who opens folks' mics, or is it me?
Yes, no, I did open.
Allô, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, on vous entend.
Bon, c'est ça. Alors, je trouve que la planification stratégique pour 5 ans, c'est important, mais c'est tellement important qu'on devrait aller dans plus de détails que juste des chats. J'aimerais pouvoir vous soumettre un document PDF ou des informations plus complémentaires, plus détaillées. Comment on fait ça?
C'est une très bonne question. Je sais qu'on a un processus justement de sondage citoyen présentement. Je ne sais pas, peut-être Jocelyn.
Oui, Mariella, je pense qu'on pourra demander à Nicolas de répondre à ça. J'ai Nicolas ici qui est présent parce qu'il va avoir une possibilité d'envoyer des courriels. Donc, vous pourrez joindre vos documents par courriel. C'est la première activité de consultation en passant. Donc, c'est pour ça, là, on est vraiment au tout début de ça, là. Nicolas, je vais activer ton micro juste pour que tu puisses… je cherche, il y a beaucoup de monde ici, là. Voilà, Nicolas, si tu veux répondre à cette question-là.
Oui, alors on m'entend?
Oui.
Oui.
Alors, bonsoir tout le monde. Bonsoir, M. Brunet. Pour répondre à votre question, effectivement, là, toutes les personnes qui souhaitent soumettre un document, quel qu'il soit, là, ça peut être sous la forme d'un fichier PDF ou un document papier ou peu importe, là, vous allez être invité à nous soumettre ces documents-là. Évidemment, là, Espace Stratégie va tenir compte de vos commentaires. Il y a deux façons d'y parvenir, and I'll say it in English right after. La première façon, c'est évidemment dans le sondage. La dernière question du sondage est une question ouverte. Donc, vous pouvez évidemment mettre beaucoup de matériel là, dans votre réponse au niveau de la question ouverte. Si vous ne mettez pas l'information là, on va vous inviter à nous le transmettre tout simplement via l'adresse courriel info-Baie-D'Urfé. Et tous ces messages-là seront envoyés à Espace Stratégie là, pour analyse là, dans le cours là, de leur processus. Alors, voilà pour la réponse à la question. So, I'll say the answer in English. So, if ever you feel that after tonight's meeting, or if you have already in your hands documents that you would like to share with us, you'll be please welcome to do so. There's two ways to do it. The first way is in the survey that's currently going out, that you could all fill up. The last question is an open question. So you're more than welcome to use that open question to put pretty much all your thoughts there. If it doesn't work or you have already completed the survey, well, you're more than welcome to send your documents to info-Baie-D'Urfé. That's our normal email address, and send it there, and we'll make sure it reaches Espace Stratégie for them to look at it and analyze as the process moves forward. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Nicolas. M. Brunet, donc vous allez avoir l'occasion, évidemment, de pouvoir acheminer tous les documents que vous voudrez en complément avec le sondage qui va être lancé très bientôt. Est-ce que ça répond bien à votre question, M. Brunet?
Oui, excepté que ça ne permet pas aux autres participants de ce soir de prendre connaissance de l'information que j'aurais aimé transmettre. Si vous voulez la résumer en quelques mots ou l'écrire dans le chat, ou sinon, écoutez, il y aura d'autres occasions quand, évidemment, il va y avoir d'autres retours qui vont être faits aux citoyens. Donc, comme je vous dis, là, on prend connaissance aujourd'hui des premiers commentaires. Il y aura d'autres opportunités, M. Brunet, j'en suis convaincu. Merci.
Before we continue, I just wanted to mention there are a few people who are asking if it's going to be possible to see the folks who are speaking, because right now it's only the audio. Is there a way that we can activate cameras when people take the mic?
Malheureusement, si vous ouvrez les micros des personnes qui parlent, il va y avoir un décalage entre chaque personne et la séance va durer une éternité. Donc, je ne vous recommande pas de faire l'ouverture des caméras de chaque personne qui veut intervenir. On l'a déjà essayé dans un autre webinaire et dépendamment de la connexion Internet de chaque personne, il va y avoir des délais et parfois on va rester en attente de quelqu'un là, pendant plusieurs secondes.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup, M.
Non, on ne peut pas, effectivement. Dans le mode webinaire, c'est un mode plus fluide, mais malheureusement, il ne permet pas les caméras. Alors, on peut continuer. Ariella, j'ai désactivé les micros là, pour les suivants. Je te laisse aller.
C'est M. Cloutier, Michel Cloutier.
Oui, bonsoir Ariella. Bonsoir Jocelyn. C'est un plaisir de te voir dans mon patelin. Et puis, Laura et moi t'envoient les salutations les plus sincères.
Ça fait plaisir.
Écoute, juste un commentaire, en fait, sur les résultats du survey. J'étais vraiment étonné de voir le faible pourcentage sur l'importance stratégique que porte le parc industriel pour Baie-D'Urfé, étant donné l'importance de l'assiette de taxation que ça représente pour les revenus de la ville. Alors, je voudrais être sûr que le résultat du survey ne néglige pas évidemment cet aspect hyper important qui contribue énormément à la qualité de vie des résidents de la ville de Baie-D'Urfé. Alors, juste un commentaire en passant comme ça.
Oui, j'aimerais juste prendre 2 secondes pour répondre. Oui, bien sûr, vous êtes absolument correct. Moi, j'étais un peu surpris, mais comme on a commencé, on a dit on prend une consultation de chaque groupe et ce soir, c'est vraiment les citoyens. Ça se peut que vous êtes dans notre parc industriel et peut-être c'est pas une préoccupation avec les citoyennes jour à jour, mais c'est sûr qu'on est très au courant de l'importance de notre parc industriel. Merci beaucoup.
So I think,
Vas-y, Ariella.
yes, I see that the time is advancing, and I think it's time to move on to our next topic. I again encourage anyone who didn't have a chance to say what they might have wanted to say, you can leave it in the chat. You can come back to the question of vision whenever you'd like through the chat over the course of the evening, and we will have those 15 minutes at the end where we can continue taking people's ideas and thoughts. So our next topic is around challenges, and I think we might have already moved into those with some of the comments that I've been seeing in the chat. So we are going to start again with a poll, and then we're going to move into another interaction where you can share your opinions around it. So for the challenges, we are asking you to select the 4 issues that you consider to be of the highest priority. So 4 of these issues, again, it will be important to scroll down to see the full list. I'll read them out as you read them yourselves. We have the development of activities and services for youth, development of activities and services for adults and seniors, limited commercial activities, commercial center, commercial services, the modernization of public infrastructure and facilities, access to affordable housing and pressure to densify the town, environmental issues and sustainable development, mobility issues within the town, pedestrian, cyclist, public transit, etc., integration of new residential developments within the town's built environment, communications between the town and its residents, so web-based social media, customer service, etc., dependency on volunteerism and sustainability of associations. So again, four of these that you consider to be the highest priority.
Alors, le sondage avance bien. On commence. Faut que les gens prennent le temps de voter. Il y a beaucoup d'enjeux sur a lot of issues. So take the time to make the choice. Look the best for you. And Ariella, on est au tiers à peu près.
Okay. So 1/3 of folks have put in their votes.
We had a comment that we are about we're 70 people, so we have some people of the city, so maybe 65 people from the community. And is it enough or not? It's really great, I think. And we have competition with hockey tonight, so and we're really glad that you are here and that we can hear you and have all your opinion about this. Notre milieu de vie.
We also have someone who mentioned that in some cases it might be one name, but behind each person who's connected is a family. So that's nice to think. That's nice to think too, because we're talking about different generations, which is something that has come up as well throughout our consultation process.
Absolutely. So still missing about 20 people. And we can see a lot of very interesting comments in the chat.
We also have someone who again wasn't able to see all the issues on the screen and would like to revise their answer. So again, if you click too soon or you want to change your mind, you're welcome to use the chat to tell us what your priorities are as well, even if you submitted the poll already.
We're asking what's the number 8 meaning. So integration of new residential developments within the town's built environment. So is there someone who would like? Ariela?
Well, my understanding is when we're talking about the heritage and the charm of the town, and also the pressure with new developments, new houses or new buildings going up, and sort of the challenge that might cause. I don't know if Heidi, if you wanted to elaborate on that.
It was no. I was just I'm looking at all these different screens. It was number 8, integration of new residential developments. Correct? That was the question.
Yeah, about it. Yes, exactly.
Ariella, you were perfect in your answer.
I think we're almost there. So okay, so I think we can end it up and share the results.
Wait, just so you know, one of the participants thought that we should all have our cameras on. So while I thought I would stay off screen and just kind of read along, I'm very happy to keep my screen open if that makes people comfortable. So that's why I turned it on.
That's great. Thank you. Okay. So I see here that the answers are fairly spread out. We see 58% of folks think that it's important to prioritize development of activities and services for youth. We also see the modernization of public infrastructure and facilities, showing with 49%, as well as activities and services for adults and seniors, mobility issues, pedestrian, cyclist, public transit. There were some comments in the chat earlier around that one. They're quite spread out, really. So that's really interesting. And in fact, I think that would be a good segue into asking you again, as we did the last time, if you have any particular comments you'd like to share around that, things that stood out for you, and again, any elements that you might think are missing. We have someone who's telling us that they really love the fact that the most important, most priority issue that comes up is services for youth. So that is indeed quite interesting. So if anyone would like to share anything around this, we have a hand up by Una. I don't know if is that a new hand? Would you like to share a thought?
Sorry, I had to unmute there. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Juan. So I am so happy to see that the number one, the highest percentage on this was services for youth as well. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and I'm so thrilled to see that. And what I also would love, and I don't know if it's within the scope of what we're talking about here, but I would love to see Baie-D'Urfé become a blue zone city. And that is one which prioritizes what are the most important things for health of a human, health of a community. And that is opportunities for socializing, opportunities and spaces for socializing and creating those opportunities, not just for particular demographics, but across the generations, and opportunities for exercise as well, I think is extremely important for youth, starting very young, all the way up until like as long as we're on this side of the ground, you know. And those to me are super, super important, and it's something that that I wanted to mention. And that's it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. That's really interesting. So the concept of blue zone city, so promoting health for all generations. We have some agreement in the chat. We also have someone who's asking, aren't we already a blue zone city? I wouldn't have the answer to that. I don't know if anyone does.
Is my mic still on?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm a little bit new to these kind of things. So we are not so much a blue zone city in the sense that it's, so blue zone cities are all about bringing all the people together. And I find personally that there's a lot of segregation and a lot of separation within the different demographics in the town. And we don't really have, the one space. We don't really have the town hall, like the town center, if you will. And it's like, obviously it's a long process, but the whole principle of it is like to go back to the village, and where everyone is kind of helping each other out. And I think that, I don't know how aware people are, but the face-to-face social aspect of a human life for wellness and longevity and well-being is number one. And that's really important to me and my family. And I basically just talk to everybody I know about it until they don't want to hear me talk anymore. So I would say that we're definitely not there yet. But I honestly cannot think of a better place than Baie-D'Urfé to make that happen anywhere around. I mean, this is the place for that. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a lot of agreement with you in the chat, which is nice to see.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Wonderful. No, that's really interesting and a really valid point. And I think it's actually a really good thing to take us to our next theme, which is on quality of life. And so we'd like to open up a more in-depth discussion on quality of life. So if we can move to the next slide. Oh, no, we were already there. One after. Quality of life. So we're quite interested indeed in the quality of life because we realize this is a really important asset of Baie-D'Urfé, as you just mentioned. So we'd like you to tell us more about the quality of life as you perceive it in Baie-D'Urfé, the community spirit, which is something that came up a lot when we did when we asked you our first question. What are some of the issues that are affecting your quality of life? And what could we do to improve it? We just had a few ideas that have been shared around creating spaces, intergenerational spaces, where people can live healthy lifestyles. There have been some talk earlier also about things like bike lanes, for example. We're talking about community spirit, so I see we have some comments also on volunteerism, committees, citizen associations. The importance of youth as the future generations. So serving the youth who will then grow up to serve the community, very important. Access to the town's recreational infrastructure, also an element of quality of life. So free and open access more specifically is as well an issue that was brought up. Is there anyone who would like to, you're welcome as well to raise your hand if you'd like to make a comment around issues around quality of life, ideas as well for the future of how to improve quality of life. An update or modernization of the community center, the Red Barn, is being suggested by Greg. We have a hand, I see Ralph Allison.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. Hello.
Okay, following on exactly with what you're saying, what this town really needs, and it's been hinted at and mentioned just recently, is a center where people can go and just be together, whether it's to have a coffee, to talk, and that we have buildings like the Fritz Center, but it isn't open all the time. And pandemic aside, once we get past that point, we really would need a central place where meetings of different generations can occur. People can just hang out, not just the youth, but all the people. And that's one element that would add to the quality of life of the community.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, the importance of spaces where everyone can come together, gather, and that intergenerational component. That seems quite important. Thank you very much, Mr. Allison. I also see a comment by Diane, who'd love to empower her kids to cycle independently more, but there's an issue around speeding on residential roads and lack of stopping. So maybe some safety issues around there that might impact the quality of life or the ability to be physically active of the children. We have some agreements with the idea of an inclusive intergenerational community center. There's an impact on quality of life by corrupt builders and developers. So in the sense that the disregard of environmental and building bylaws, which can mean that the city might need to engage in lawsuits. So an issue around development that was raised. A lot of agreement with what Mr. Allison said. A gathering place would be very important. I see the fear of volunteerism not being sustainable due to the increase of dual working families. So not everyone has the time to volunteer. And so that sort of centers the activities around a certain demographic. So again, we're talking about the different generations. Again, you're welcome if you'd like to raise your hand, if you'd like to make a comment on the microphone. We're happy to give you the microphone. And yes. Oh, did I hear someone? No. We also have someone who thinks we should rely less on volunteers for running and planning activities. So interesting. So volunteerism is very valued, but there's a question of whether we might be relying a little too much on them. Speed bumps, because we had some agreement on speeding being an issue. Others who might think that's not the answer. Noise levels. Volunteers are great, but dedicated employees have definite advantages. So if no one wants to take the mic, we could pass to the next issue. And I encourage you to continue putting your thoughts in the chat because a lot of these issues, as you will see, overlap. So when we're talking about sustainable development, of course, there's an overlap with quality of life. So now we're interested in hearing you around the town's green spaces, something that again came up quite strongly early on, environmental issues and sustainable development initiatives that you might like to see. So are there issues? Are there any threats or challenges related around green spaces and sustainable development and what you would like to see happen to address these or to improve when we're thinking about the future of Baie-D'Urfé? So we have someone who thinks an environment and sustainable development committee would be urgently needed. A committee that would be diverse and have the needed expertise to provide advice. Very interesting. Agreement with that. So there's a concern around noise pollution from the 20. So a barrier would be a way to address this public health issue. Volunteerism comes up again as a way to get people together to mingle. So again, I think we're going back to that idea of bringing together the different sectors of the community, the different generations. So volunteerism is important for that. But the importance of having someone dedicated. So a lot of these themes coming up as a clear priority. Focus on preserving trees, stop pesticide use, exotic species replacing indigenous ones, both but accidentally and by design. So the idea of preserving the natural environment in a purposeful way. We have Hans who would like to see an alignment with Montreal Sustainable Development Strategy and Goals. New builds, so new homes is as well a concern. Oh, we're going quickly here. Again, I welcome you to raise your hand if anyone would like to share something. Take the mic. New construction, protection of trees, and I see Una's hand, so you can go ahead.
Hi, it's me again. So I figured I would just raise my hand. What I would like to see, aside from maintaining this jewel of greenness that we have in this town, is it would be interesting to see if the town can get involved in any initiatives that can encourage green building. So when homes are being renovated or built, if we can encourage things that work like solar energy or wind energy or battery energy. I know that I've seen a couple of houses already in Beaconsfield, in particular in the place where our farm delivers, that have already installed little electrical things to plug in their electrical car in their own home. So I would love to see some conversation around that, having that available for new developments and also retrofitting homes that way possibly as well, and any sort of future, sorry, my daughter just came in to say goodnight. Good night, my love. Any sort of future development or renovations for the public buildings as well, to take that into consideration. That would be really great. I would love to see that in terms of development.
Great, thank you very much. I see we have Michel Cloutier.
Yeah, I was kind of curious. I work in research and development, and every time I see sustainable development, it puzzles me about what the definition of that is, and specifically in the context of the strategic plan for Baie-D'Urfé. So if you could spend a few minutes explaining to the people what that actually means, because I might have an entirely different interpretation of that, and it might help people understand the concept a little bit better, because it is a misnomer in many industries.
Mm-hmm. Now that's a really good point, and my definition might indeed be different than someone else's. My understanding of sustainable development being looking at how we can continue developing while preserving what we have for the coming generations. So looking at finding that balance between the need to grow or to develop and the need to care for the environment, and also to innovate in how we protect the environment. Now, I'm not sure if that's the definition that has been used in the process of our discussions. It's true that the term sustainable development is often thrown around, and we each sort of take what we think, take the definition that we imagine as to be the one. I'm not sure if anyone from Baie-D'Urfé would like to share what their use of the term sustainable development would be. I don't think my definition is necessarily the one that is the most important here. Or Jocelyn, if you'd like to add anything, I know that you've worked around this with a lot of municipalities.
Quand on parle de développement durable, on parle des trois piliers du développement durable. On parle du pilier économique, on parle du pilier social, puis on parle du pilier environnemental. Donc, développement durable, c'est vraiment basé sur ces trois piliers-là. Donc, c'est pas seulement de l'environnement, c'est aussi du social et c'est aussi de l'économique. Donc, ce sont les trois combinés ensemble qui font ce qu'on appelle le développement durable.
So just to translate for those who prefer in English, so really when we're looking at sustainable development, we're looking at three pillars of, yes, economy, but also social and environmental, and how to bring those three together and have our development stand on those three pillars together.
Thanks for the clarification.
Well, thank you for the question. That's a very relevant question, because we do sometimes use terms without necessarily defining them. I see some talk about new homes not respecting current bylaws. So again, the question of new constructions has come up, as well as, again, meeting places. For example, coffee shop is coming up in the chat. I also see we have a hand raised by Nick Drouet.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to loop back on sort of the sustainable development aspect that was discussed earlier, and be a little bit more concrete and precise as to what that might mean from a town initiative standpoint. I'll give an example of the CPE, the daycare that was considered a while back. I was disappointed when I saw the plans for that building, that it was not a LEED certified building, gold or not. There are standards out there that we can use in our infrastructure planning in order to set a bar. And I would invite the town to make sure that the next proposal for architecture, whether that be the Red Barn, a community center, or anything else that we want to build going forward, to set a minimum bar for efficiency in any new buildings. Because it's a town, anything that we build, we're going to have to maintain and pay for years to come. And the economies that you have when you go towards those efficient buildings will pay for themselves over the long run. And we are the long run. As a town, we're not trying to buy a house to live in it for 7 years, which is the typical average. So that's one of the concrete ways that we can make that real. And I would invite Heidi to bring that up to whoever it may be next time around. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm seeing a lot of agreement in the chat as well with what you just expressed. So that's great. So really taking it down to the specific and actually looking at the standards and certifications that exist out there that can be used. Yeah, so a lot of agreement there in the chat. If you'd like, we can move on. No, I'll give Ralph Allison the mic before we move on to the next topic.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I don't want to talk too much, but I want to express and it may sound like a very contrarian view, but I agree with a lot of ideas that are being brought up in terms of the town and the development, etc. The thing we must be aware of, and this is the temptation anytime, is to overproduce, overprepare, overplan, overfill, whether it's green spaces with too many places for activities. We've got to allow places to simply be empty spaces where one can be at peace or simply sit. We have park benches, we have picnic tables, we have various things. The temptation is to put too much in, whether it's walkways or pathways. And one of the things about the town that is the rural feel is there are these nooks and crannies that one can explore. Children can play off a side pathways and have their own place to do what they like outside of the house. And this is, I think, very important, even for people of all ages, is to have not too much development. In other words, there has to be a balance, and we have to be aware because we're all eager to do things to improve, and we can over improve. I'll just stop there.
Okay, thank you very much, Ralph. And I'm seeing a lot of agreement again with your point in the chat. So the importance of preserving also the spaces that exist and not overdoing it by filling them up yet. Absolutely. Again, I thought it was interesting that you brought back that point, which came out very strongly early on of this idea of a rural space within the city. So. Good, thank you very much for that. Okay, so we're going to move on to our third topic, which is infrastructure and commercial activities. So we're interested in hearing your opinions around the town's infrastructure. So we're talking about public buildings, the sewage system, etc., as well as commercial activities. So what the commercial activities that are available within the town boundaries. So again, what might be the issues that you face or that you would like to point out, and what improvements would you like to see? Again, you're welcome to take the mic and you're welcome to give us your opinions in the chat. I see a lot of people thinking that we're not getting a lot just yet. So public drainage is coming up. Water infiltration being an issue, and neglected infrastructure. This was also a comment that had been made early on as well. Some people had mentioned described the town as crumbling. So if those people would like to expand on that, I welcome you to do that now. That would be an appropriate moment. Someone asked what we mean by commercial activities. So we're really looking at the different forms of commerce that are available to you as residents within town boundaries. So if you need to if you need to use different commerces, what's available to you, accessibility of those commercial those commerces. So there is a suggestion to limit the commercial activities to the current shopping center. In terms of infrastructure, needing a plan, a rolling plan and investment for maintenance. So not spending all these years just catching up, but rather having a plan. There are a few people mentioning preventative maintenance rather than just always being in crisis mode. Let's see, we have redoing roads, making room for bicycle traffic. It's becoming dangerous to bike. Les routes ne sont pas entretenues. Bring our infrastructure up to date. So we talked about modernization through things like LEED. There are a lack of sports facilities in Baie-D'Urfé. So it would be good to develop, to plan for development in complement with the neighboring municipalities. Again, road repair, particularly Lakeshore, big issue for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. What else are we seeing here? When redoing the roads, please include room for bicycle traffic. So we saw the need for more space for cyclists come up a few times. Creating a bicycle culture as well. Again, we have time if anyone would like to take the mic. Someone would like to see the buildings being repainted. An issue around the modernity of the buildings. Potholes, again, on Lakeshore come up. More road lights, so street lighting. Welcoming more businesses and accessibility in the residential side of town that serves people daily aside from Provigo. So a little more proximity, services in proximity. Okay, more talk also about road repair. We also have Nick who's suggesting an easy and expensive solution, which would be, or not solution, but idea, which would be to see some water access points and a small floating dock. So really, again, encouraging sports and an active lifestyle and access to water. And I'm seeing Pamela who would like to take the mic.
Actually, it's Pamela's husband, David. But
sorry, David.
No, it's all right. It says Pamela. I think what is representative or symptomatic of what the problem is with the town it's a simple thing. The potholes on Lakeshore for cyclists. I can't believe how many years that's gone unattended, and it's a very simple thing, but it makes me think that something is very wrong in the town. And I think that should be addressed right away as a gesture of goodwill from the town to all the people that cycle through here and think, what the heck is wrong with Baie-D'Urfé? It's very dangerous. So, but that's just a symbolic of what's wrong. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm also seeing a comment around town hall needing renovation as a priority. A medical center. Family medicine, that's something that came up in a previous chat earlier on as well. A couple of people agreeing with that. Some agreement as well around the potholes and the risk of accidents related to that. Anyone else would like to take the microphone? Yeah, we have Nick.
Hi. Just very quickly, there was a question earlier on about, I think that included smart towns as sort of an option. I forget if it was the primary survey for this call, and they're a little muddled in my head. It seems to me that Richard brought it up as well. We have about 5% of households, I think, on this call, which is really solid if you ask me. I know it's not excellent, but by having or picking an app that can integrate with the town systems in order to provide a quick feedback loop, it's a lot easier to get our feedback to the town for a lot of these little things. Hey, there's a pothole over here. It seems that we are almost a decade behind in sort of modernizing our feedback loop with the town. When we want to attract families, these are all these are connected generations, myself and everyone younger. We grew up with the internet, and I see that there is a definite opportunity for the town to improve that level of communication. I'm not saying we should reduce the other mechanisms of communication, but where's the app where I can take a picture of the pothole in the street and confirm the address and send it to the town? These things exist, and it seems to me that there's both an initial and a recurring cost. I'll even volunteer right now to help you, with that selection, and help you look through it and look at the options and table it for the town, its selection, and its manager, so that we can get this feedback to you more than every 5 years, right? That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Interesting. So really looking beyond just, how we can repair infrastructure, but looking at how technology can help also with communication with citizens and building those constant communication loops in a very connected world. So yeah, that's a really interesting idea. I'm seeing a bit of uptake on that in the chat. I also have someone who mentioned Bee City in Beaconsfield. I'm not sure if that is as well and a sort of smart city initiative, but if anyone would like to explain that, that might be interesting to hear. We also have talk about collaboration with John Abbott College for the pool. So collaboration in general, that's an interesting topic. John Abbott College hadn't come up yet, I don't believe, at least not in the chats that I was able to see. Interesting that it's only coming up now, but indeed different forms of collaboration can be a solution for addressing infrastructure issues. Bee City is an app. So it seems like Beaconsfield has already implemented an app to encourage or to facilitate communication with its residents. Great, so I think we can pass on to the next topic, which is town associations and services. So we know that the culture of volunteerism is very important in the town. Again, that was something we heard from you early on. As well as municipal services. So not only what the associations are doing, but also the different services that, that the municipality is offering. So we'd like to hear you on these topics. Again, what issues you would like to signal, how we can improve things. You're welcome to use the chat. You're welcome to raise your hand. Again, we're looking at the various associations and clubs, as well as the services offered directly by the municipality. I see we have Jeff with his hand raised.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, it's a tricky topic to sort of thread the needle on, but nobody really wants to step on the toes of volunteers because they are very valuable and we really do appreciate what they do in the town. And that goes without question, and that'll stay the same way. But what myself and a number of people here have expressed already is that there's an over-reliance on volunteers. Volunteers can only do so much. They have other jobs, they have other lives, they have other things. So in a sense, they are, beyond criticism or beyond reproach. And other cities do provide more city-run services, such as a pool, such as Stewart Hall Cultural Center, what have you. Yes, they pay higher taxes, but when you have a city-run service, you have a more accountable, dedicated employee or team of employees to run that particular service. Whereas with a volunteer, again, not taking great pains to not step on any toes, with a volunteer, they can only do so much. They only have a certain level of expertise and a certain level of resources at their disposal. So for a lot of families, particularly those who have 2 kids and 2 jobs or what have you, including the ones that are yelling in the background right now, I'm sorry, the current level of volunteer services just does not meet those families' needs. And we're asking for more city-run services with more accountability, again, without criticizing the current volunteers.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, indeed, I understand that it's really about finding a balance and valuing those two things. So I do remember having seen in the chat that people value very strongly what the volunteers are doing, and that some people think that this could be complemented, indeed, by services run by employees. I see Una again with a comment. You're welcome to take the mic.
Hi. So I will make it quick, but I think that this just takes me back to the whole concept of community center and community space, where all sorts of things can be run out of, where someone that's hired by the town and volunteers and programs for youth and all kinds of things would come out of this space, because I think that volunteers are very important, and especially to cultivate the next generation of volunteers. I think that that's absolutely crucial to a community. And at the same time, also, as Jeff said, to encourage the town to go beyond that as well. So I think those two roads need to be traveled simultaneously for the future, and that they can all come out of a wonderful community space, as well as programs. We enjoy, I think someone mentioned that, the tennis courts should be available for people to play in Baie-D'Urfé. And for me, that's a no-brainer, things like that. And we have great spaces already. And I think that we can make better use of them. And that's it. I'm tired. It's 8 o'clock. I'm used to sleeping at this time with my kids. So forgive me. I'm going to trail off right there.
Well, thank you for being with us, and thank you for proposing all these ideas despite the time of night. So I see Ralph and then Nick. Is Ralph able to unmute himself or be unmuted? There we go.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I can appreciate what's being said. I think that the issue is not so much a threat or attacking or diminishing volunteerism. I think, if anything, it should be encouraged and increased. I think the key, what this individual is talking about, is the link between volunteerism and the paid employees who are paid to carry out services for the town. And I gave this example as a VCOP volunteer. We volunteer, but we have a link, and we are working with the public works and the administration to coordinate. And that's where I think the key to making the whole thing work. It's not saying diminish or attack in any way, or even wonder about it. It's how they link together, because the volunteering is the heart and soul of any community. It's not about money, it's about community. And but they can't, he's right. I think that they can't do everything. And it's the link that's important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Nick?
Thank you. I think I'm just in violent agreement with the previous speaker. As someone who volunteers in this town and has been participating in either running or at least lifting the boxes and moving the things that need doing over my time here, I would say that one of the problems that we have in most of the volunteer organizations that I see around town is we need an injection of the next generation. So I invite those that are participating on this call today and those who are going to listen to it after to please try to get involved. There are lots of positions open. There are tons of folks that are just waiting to give up their spots, and they are emotionally invested in the success of the various organizations that they're in, and they need that next generation to step up, and most of them are more than happy to help and coach and get everybody involved in that. At the same time, I'm right there with Jeff. We need a better mechanism to communicate with the town, to deal with budgetary issues, to keep the volunteer organizations at least marginally accountable where that's relevant, and facilitate communication with town services, put in the requests for support where that's necessary from either town employees or other volunteer organizations, and sort of be that maven, be the connection point between those things, so that if more help is needed, more help can be found. So anyway, I invite everybody watching to get involved. They're all in the front of your Baie-D'Urfé municipal directory. As I recall, all of the contact information is there. If not, I'm pretty sure they can find it on the town website.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm seeing in the chat folks mentioning the importance of the younger generations getting involved, including Susan, who says, as a senior, we look forward to seeing young families putting in input. I can say that when we did our workshop with representatives from the associations, that was as well something that was flagged by them. So the importance of the new generation, or la relève, as we say in French. And also, and I was in the chats a whole lot earlier, but at least one person mentioned the importance of the new families who are moving to Baie-D'Urfé also getting involved in volunteerism activities, so bringing them in. But I'm definitely hearing and seeing in the chat the importance of volunteerism and the work that the volunteers do for the social fabric of Baie-D'Urfé, but also questions around maybe there's some limits to what those volunteers can do. In a town that's growing and that has needs. I also see just a last comment here about the importance of encouraging kids to get involved. One of the things that we're hoping to do this Saturday, so in 2 days, with our youth consultation. So at the end, before we finish up here, I will definitely want to plug that youth consultation again for all of those of you who have children and grandchildren. There's a question of newcomers getting engaged in Baie-D'Urfé, so it's not always easy for new folks to break into the sort of a community of Baie-D'Urfé. The question of recreational facilities and their accessibility actually came up a whole lot earlier as well. Some folks were mentioning the importance of being able to access recreational facilities without paying fees, which is, of course, a question linked as well to the cost of living in Baie-D'Urfé, taxes, etc. So we have a lot of comments on these topics around associations and services. If anyone else would like to take the mic, you're still welcome to do so. We have a couple more minutes. This is the last of our 4 topics. After that, we're going to do a quick little checkout, launch a last poll, and also give you a chance to share some last thoughts on any topic. So yes, I think we can move to that. I don't see any hands. So here we'd just like to ask you what your main takeaway from this workshop is. So it could be one key point that was brought up that you think is absolutely essential. It could be the most important issue in your opinion, or the most exciting opportunity or idea. It could be something that you learned from one of your fellow citizens. And so we invite you to share your thoughts in the chat, or raise your hand if you'd like to share a few quick words with the mic. So the chat and the mics are open. Your main takeaway from this workshop could be on any of the topics that we have discussed up until now. We have Susan who says, oh, oui.
Pendant que les gens répondent, Ariella, on pourrait peut-être aussi passer le sondage. Qu'est-ce que tu en penses? Puis on fait les deux en même temps. Est-ce que ça te conviendrait?
Oui, on y go. We have one survey one last poll rather that we would like to ask you as part of our checkout. So you could answer that at your leisure while you also answer with your one key takeaway. And while you're doing that, I'll share a couple of nice comments here. This whole process is excellent. Lovely to hear all the voices and ideas. Great to see that on most issues, there is so much consensus.
J'ajouterais, je vois les gens qui répondent, là, si les gens peuvent aussi commenter dans le chat, là, si on dit, par exemple, j'étais peu satisfait ou moyennement satisfait, peuvent rajouter des commentaires, pourquoi dans le chat, est-ce qu'il y a des choses qui manquaient ou s'ils ont beaucoup aimé. Donc, rajouter peut-être un petit commentaire pour aider le sondage. You can translate, Ariella, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So if you would like to give any feedback on this evening, on this activity, we have the survey that we put up, the poll that we put up, but you can also use the chat if you'd like to give us some feedback on what you thought of the evening. Yeah, any comments you'd like to share with us?
Le sondage avance bien. On a 50 participants sur 69.
Excellent. I'm seeing folks, a lot of appreciation for this type of activity and this and the town having taken the time to engage with citizens in this way. A constructive conversation. This should be done on a regular basis. Mm.
Il manque peut-être 3 ou 4 votes.
We have someone asking where the poll is. I'm not sure if possibly the poll didn't show up for everyone. It should have popped up on your screen. If not, essentially what we're asking is how you found tonight's activity. Did you find it very rewarding and constructive, just rewarding and constructive, satisfying, not very satisfying, not satisfying at all, or prefer not to answer? So if you'd like to share your level of satisfaction with the evening, if you didn't have the poll pop up, yep.
It's a pop-up window, so maybe it's behind your main screen. So if you close the main window, maybe you will see it behind it.
Thank you, good point. Yeah, so possibly got hidden by something. So if you're able to find your poll, we would like to receive as many answers as possible. And so here are the results. So the majority of attendees found that tonight was rewarding and constructive. And others found it very rewarding and constructive as well as satisfying. So overall, people were happy with the evening, and we really appreciate that. And we're happy that you felt like you were able to share your opinions and that it was constructive.
And feel free, if you did answer not very satisfying or only satisfying, why? Feel free to share on the chat.
Yes, and you can select to only share your comments in your chat with the panelist if you prefer not to share with everyone. So if you'd like to give us feedback directly, you can do so in that way. We're very welcome. We welcome your feedback. We can always improve our practice as well. So maybe I'll just take you while we're collecting feedback. We can show you our next steps. We did show you this timeline earlier on, but I just wanted to take an opportunity to re-emphasize that our next activity is going to be a consultation with youth. That is going to be Saturday morning. So we're actually going to be, we're going to have 2 sessions of 45 minutes each at 10 o'clock a.m. for 8 to 12-year-olds and at 10:50 to 11:30 for 13 and 17-year-olds. And this is going to be, we designed a consultation activity around the concept of an escape room, a virtual escape room, of course. So it's going to be over Zoom, and we tried to make it a fun and sort of, you know, a competitive activity in the sense that, like an escape room, you want your team to get to the end first. So there will be prizes, from what I understand. And we encourage those of you who have children or grandchildren in that age range, so between 8 and 17, to register for this event. I'm not sure if Nicolas might want to put up the link to the registration. I know there is a registration form available on the Baie-D'Urfé website. And registration is required in order to attend. So yes, please join us. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward. We have a question also about the consultation with the industrial park. It's true that we did not put that on the timeline. It was an omission on our part. We are actually conducting a survey as well with the different companies. And conducting some interviews with several selected companies in the industrial park. So that's something that's currently underway. So sorry, we have not forgotten the industrial parks. We just haven't done a workshop with them the way we're doing this workshop, but we have 2 separate activities going on to consult with this important sector of the community. And I see that the Habs are doing well. I don't follow hockey, but excellent for those who do. Wonderful. That's it for us. Heidi, would you like to say any last words?
Yeah, well, first of all, I really want to thank everyone. I don't know if you've done this a million times and worked with many different communities. I am thrilled to see about 72 computer screens open, which doesn't count how many people are behind the screens. And I was not surprised to hear a lot of the feedback tonight. It's important to confirm some things, see if things have changed over time, see if people still, if needs and wants have changed. And I was not surprised to hear, I couldn't even keep up with the chat. I was looking at the chat and trying to read, and it was flying through my screen. And so I look forward to reading all the messages. And I would like to thank everybody so much for their participation and bringing things out in this interactive evening. I know I'm looking forward to Saturday. I get the privilege of actually attending the youth virtual reality, but I imagine that some parents are going to sneak into behind the scenes to try and catch a glimpse of what it'll be very interesting to see. You know, I mentioned it at the beginning that our consultation process has gone very well so far. And what's been very interesting, because sometimes we think, oh, we're all so different from each other, but right from the start, déjà quand on a commencé avec les employés, j'étais comme, I was surprised, but not surprised. It has been so fluid, and a lot of these things have been coming up over and over again, which just solidifies things of where we stand. So thank you, everybody, for participating tonight, and I look forward to the next steps.
Thank you very much. And I will add my thanks to everyone. It was really rich. The discussions were really interesting. I also had trouble keeping up with the chat. And I'll add a little point that parents are more than welcome to accompany their children or youth at the activity on Saturdays. Absolutely. So yes, thank you very much. As I mentioned earlier, we're actually going to finish a couple minutes early, which is excellent. As I mentioned, we will stay for an extra 10-15 minutes. If anyone had any comments that they wanted to share, that they didn't have a chance to share, or that they didn't want to share in front of everyone, we will stay here to receive those. Thank you very, very much for your engagement and for your participation.